All right, TAC TV fans, we're back out here with the EA Medal of Honor Warfighter guys. We're going to go through some of the guns in the game, particularly handguns as secondary weapons and the MP7, also as a secondary and in some applications a primary weapon within the game. And guys, if you come up, we got here is a 1911. Of course, old diehard guys like me, special ops guys, are used to single stack 1911. Only holds 8 rounds per se, but the thing that he brings to the table is a very accurate gun, has excellent ergonomics. It's very easy to reload and put back into action. The downside to it, by today's standards, it requires a more dialed in end user. If a guy's just used to using something like a Glock and putting it into service, you really can't do that with a 1911 pistol, especially one built like this, which is a gun that I help you guys bring to the game. Here's a HK-45 Compact Tactical, a gun that I was involved with back in the day when I was involved with HK. Theory behind this is it's enhanced USP. It has the O-ring for better accuracy, also slightly extended barrel, allows you to thread a suppressor on it, very accurate, very reliable, and also has cross compatibility with the full-size HK-45. It allows you to take the full-size 10-round magazine into the gun. Currently in use by Naval Special Operations and others within the military, and very widely received as an excellent weapon. And then we have the HK MP7. Real unique gun in the respect that it's like a miniature assault rifle. It uses a 4.6 round. You gotta remember, it was designed to penetrate soft body armor, but the lethality part of it is a bit lacking. The theory behind it is you would issue it to soldiers or individuals that would normally get a handgun, but the skill level required on employing a handgun is much, much higher over something like this. And we're going to do some drills here in a minute. Up close, most of you guys will be able to do fine with a handgun or the MP7. As you stretch it back, you get back to 15 or 20 yards or so, that's where a gun like the MP7 is going to be dramatically easier to shoot than a handgun, except for all but the most skilled individuals. So there's a time and a place for a handgun, but even within special operations, there's a time and a place for a gun like the MP7.
So Larry, you say with the 1911, again, you know, when these units first started coming on board, and the 1911 was a favorite, clearly you helped, you know, to design the Vickers 45 particularly for this game. We're talking about some pretty dialed in operators, you know, we're talking about the tier 1 units. Are you still finding that a lot of these guys are using the 1911, the old school, over the new 45C?
The older guys are, and here's what you see. A good friend of mine named Ken Hackathorn said one time, once a guy kind of cuts his teeth or becomes proficient on a 1911, he'll never really truly be happy with anything else. And there's a lot of truth in that, in the respect that you have a combination of features that the 1911 brings to the table, especially from a shootability point of view, that's unmatched, even to this day, 100 years later. It's the only gun I know of, only tool I know of that's still in use, more or less unchanged, the basic design, 100 years after it was developed. And because when you combine the thumb safety, the mag release, the slide release, the trigger, those features, the ability that you can customize and adapt it for the individual user, that's why people still like it. By today's standards, it requires a more dialed in end user to keep it running. It requires more maintenance and support on an arms room level. It's kind of a logistics and a maintenance nightmare, but because it is so shootable, I'm always going to have a soft spot in my heart for the 1911. Yeah. You know, obviously, I still do my best shooting with that gun, and that's what you're getting at.
Awesome. The other question is that you know, you see a lot of different flavors and versions of the 1911. You see that, you know, the high-speed race guns, this and that. What makes the Vickers Tactical 45 a combat handgun versus a high-speed range gun or speed gun?
Okay, all those other guns are great, but they kind of fall in the category of toys, because you got to remember, the only format of the 1911 that is combat proven is the standard all steel 5-inch, you know, 7-round magazine, or with the newer 8-round magazine, standard barrel bushing, the standard gun that guys went into Normandy or were in the Battle of the Bulge with, or Alvin York used. That's the only gun that's seen combat. All the other guns, your 9mm, your comp guns, your 38 Supers and all that, they're not combat proven by any stretch. You know, you can get 1 or 2 of them or a half dozen of them to work reliably, but when you issue hundreds of those guns, you're always going to be better to go back to the traditional, standard, time-proven, combat-proven format, which is the standard all-steel 5-inch gun. I mean, that gun has a light rail on it and whatnot, but there's very few things on that that really differ from a mechanical point of view from the gun that somebody stormed Omaha Beach with. So that's the basic format you look at, and you only make the changes that make sense and are not going to be a liability in the field.
Makes sense. And so then on the 45C, when you're talking about an upgraded USP, what have you, what modifications did you make to improve that weapon system?
Bottom line, HK, they kind of had all the ingredients, they just hadn't put it together. They had the P2000, which had a slimmer slide. All right, they were looking at integrating the Picatinny rail at the time. So all I did was came to the table, and like I said, my good buddy Ken Hackathorn helped me with it, and just kind of took bits and pieces from guns they already made and said, you know, really, this is the next gun you need to make. Right. But they just took bits and pieces of stuff they already had and put it together into one package. Picatinny rail, ambidextrous controls of the P2000, the slimmer slide, the slimmer frame texturing and whatnot, and frame size of the HK45 compact, and just brought it together in that format. So it's really, in a lot of ways, a refinement and an adaptation of the guns they already had on the market, P2000 and the USP.
Right. All right, so clearly today we're talking about the 45 ACP. You know, you hear a lot about 40 Smith & Wesson, 357 SIG, 10 millimeter, all different types of flavors, but it just appears we keep coming back to the 45.
To me, there's a lot of caliber debate. It's real simple to me. If you have the ability to use a good modern hollow point, there's nothing in the world wrong with 9mm. There are some very, very effective 9mm hollow points on the market. If you're in a situation like most people in the military, you don't have hollow point as an option, but only in certain applications, even for special operations. If you have to carry a full metal jacketed round, at that point, regardless of the caliber, you're basically just poking a hole in somebody. So if you're gonna do that, you might as well poke a 45 caliber hole versus a 9mm. It's that simple. So to me, it's real simple. If you can carry a hollow point round, 9mm makes all the sense in the world, because there's some really good 9mm rounds in the market. If you've got to carry ball, then it makes all the sense in the world to carry 45. And that kind of leaves 40 cal kind of in the middle. You can argue, well, maybe it bridges the gap. You could also argue it doesn't do either one as well, you know, so there's arguments either way on that, because to me it's real simple. 9mm hollow point or 45 ACP ball, depending on the circumstances you're in.
Right, and you know, like I said, we're working with both you know, operators from the Navy side of the house, from the Army side of the house. You know, depending on who you talk to, you know, they say by the time you draw your secondary, you're pretty much in the shit at that point anyways. But on the Army side of the house, we hear quite a few guys, sometimes they prefer to use a sidearm for certain situations than they would a short carbine or what have you.
Okay, here's where, I'm glad you brought that up. Here's where that comes in. When the skill level and the confidence is in place, there is a time and a place where a handgun is an incredibly useful tool, especially very confined spaces. I mean, you're in structures or vehicles or areas where a handgun is very, very easy to use. Even honestly, in a lot of ways, easier to use than something like an MP7, because one, you don't have to have that buttstock attached to your shoulder. You have the flexibility to pull the gun in, extend it out, whatever you need to do, and put it in a position to engage it. That is a byproduct of the time it takes to truly master the handgun on the range and be able to use the gun effectively under a variety of scenarios, you know, at night, during the day, moving, different conditions, different distances, and it takes time and effort to get that. So yeah, I'm in that category. There's a time and a place where I would take a handgun over anything based on what I'm doing. But that's that's something that's bred from confidence on the range. I know you guys are looking forward to trigger time on all these guns, and particularly the MP7, so we might as well get at it.
Oh yeah, do it.
I want you to come up on target. All right, that grip's fine. I want you to get a little bit more aggressive. Think about fighting. You're gonna throw a punch, but instead of punching with your fist, you're punching with a gun. So
bend the leg.
Yeah, and a little bit more aggressive on your blade, a little bit more on your stance, the other way around. And when you focus, for the purpose of this training, you focus on the front sight, so I want you watching that dot.
Okay.
You line up in the center of that black, and then you squeeze the trigger.
Okay.
And squeeze the trigger, I'm sure you've taken a picture with a camera. I want you to squeeze the trigger like you're taking a picture with a camera. You know how you have to take the slack out, hold it steady, and then you squeeze it. And if you jerk it, the picture's gonna be screwed up. The same thing here. If you jerk the trigger, just like with the camera, you're gonna screw up the shot. So let's try a little bit of that.
Okay.
And then when you squeeze straight to the rear. Hold on 1 second. And then put your finger, you got a lot of your finger in the trigger. If possible, put the tip right in the center of there.
Okay.
Okay, and just line it up the way you had it, and then squeeze it. Okay, keep your finger held to the rear. I'll recycle the slide for you, okay? Squeeze the trigger. Okay, good. Now you can chill. Finger straight, low, ready. Greg, let me check you out. Whenever you're ready, come on up. Not bad. One thing I want to show you is you're kind of getting overly aggressive.
Okay.
There's a difference between tense and aggressive. You want to be aggressive but not tense, and you're kind of getting over the edge. So I want you to back off, stand up a little bit more, and relax your shoulders a little bit. Part of that comes from people wanting to eliminate recoil. Can't be done. What you want to do is neutralize recoil. So when the gun is done recoiling, it's back right on target where you want it to be. If you can do that and control the gun, you're fine. There's no need to do more than that. So you want to think of neutralizing recoil, not eliminating, especially since you cannot eliminate it. All right, let me check you out one more time. There you go. Squeeze straight through. Beautiful. Excellent. Well, if you guys are ready, we're going to load you guys up. I'm going to watch you guys shoot a magazine at the bowl, and we'll take it from there. Okay, bro, I'm going to go with you first before we do Greg. So finger straight, you can load it up. Magazine in, seat it all the way. Now when you come back, finger straight, grab the slide, pull it all the way to the rear, and then release. There you go. Now when you release it, you got to let it go forward. Yeah, because if you ease it, it potentially may not go all the way into the chamber. In this case, it did, but when you slide to the rear, you release it, goes all the way forward, okay? None of the guns we have out here today shoot from an open bolt. Those are the only guns you don't want to do that with. All of them shoot from a closed bolt or all the way in the battery, so there's no issues with the gun firing as it goes forward. Okay, so line her up. Check your stance, you're kind of reversed. There you go. Okay, squeeze. Beautiful, that's it, squeeze.
One thing, you know, I felt like I could have stood there with particularly the Vickers 1911. I felt like I could have just sat there, listened to Larry all day and just shot that weapon all day, and really, you know, even from the 5 minutes I spent with him, I felt like, you know, I learned a lot. I was actually looking at the photograph of the grouping of the shots this morning because I was quite proud. I mean, I got the first 3 off, but then the other 5 come in and they were all pretty much going through the same hole. The grouping was pretty tight, and there was no way they would have been that tight without Larry sat on the shoulder going, no, do this, no, do that. So yeah, it was an amazing experience.
Nice. Okay, let's talk about it. You can hand it to me. Now when you drop the magazine releases right here. Hit the mag and it comes out. Now when you reload on 1911, you seat the new mag in. There's a couple different ways to do it. I come up with my thumb and release it here, or you can do this. Okay. Overall, you did real well. Now you got 4 shots that are dead center. Those were perfect shots. The ones that are a little bit low, you jerk the trigger just a little bit. So on those shots, the photograph would be a little bit blurry because at the end you kind of did a little bit of that. And the reason you did that is you anticipated the recoil, the noise, the recoil, and and the muzzle whip and all that jazz. Once you work past that, those become less frequent. Okay, brother. The goals in the pistol drills were real simple: to give the developers a taste of what it's like to shoot a combat handgun, in this case a 1911 and HK-45, in the real world. Took them out on the range and gave them a little taste of what sight alignment and trigger control is all about, and also dealing with that wobble zone. Looking through the sights, it's a whole lot different in the real world versus on a game. If you have to use one of these handguns and, let's say on an operation, chances are you've transitioned from your primary weapon to your backup. Things aren't going so well, and therefore the skill that you bring to the table could mean the difference between life and death. I wanted them to get a taste of what it was like to use a handgun in the real world when lives are truly on the line. Okay, good. Now, overall not bad. The shots low left are classic right-hand trigger snatch, okay? Meaning that if you look at your hand as a right-hander and the way your finger hinges, you're already preconditioned to kind of jerk it low left. So you have to be conscious of really pulling the trigger straight to the rear and then not doing that where you anticipate the sights are lined up and then I want to snatch at it. One of the problems with shooting a handgun, guys, and one of the things that you see over the years is you have this illusion that the sight should always be perfectly still, right? And then, so you bring the gun up on target and the sights are moving a little bit and you go, wait a minute, that's not the way it's supposed to be. So you know what, if they're not gonna be perfectly still, let me shoot the gun when I perceive that the sights are perfectly aligned. And then you come up and you go, well, they're lined up now. and then you jump it, you know, you snatch at it and throw the shot. Reality of it is you have to understand there's a little bit of a wobble zone involved. It doesn't matter. The perceived wobble that you see right here is minuscule as long as the sights are reasonably parallel, and as long as you don't snatch the trigger, you'll get great shots. But you know what? It's an acquired skill. If anybody ever tells you this is easy, they're wrong. It's not. It's a simple concept, but to actually come out and execute it is much more difficult. Cool? Cool. All right, if you guys are cool, I'm gonna hand off to these guys and let them try the same thing. Yeah, all the way to the ready, you got it. Okay, when you're ready, just come up and line it up. Squeeze the trigger.
Of the pistols, I'd say my favorite had to be the Vickers 1911. I mean, it's been a while since, you know, that guy made a gun. So to get to shoot, you know, the most recent gun that he made, that was pretty cool just in and of itself. But then the way that it fired, it was awesome. It was like, if you can shoot the weapon the way that you're supposed to, it'll just drill tacks all day. Hands down, the 1911 was my favorite pistol to shoot.
One thing you notice is you got to really squeeze it straight to the rear. If you get a little bit of a jerk in, it doesn't take much to throw it down. But overall, not bad.
The first handgun I ever shot was a .44 Magnum when I was 13 years old. And the only thing I knew about it at the time was Police Academy. And so I was just bracing to be shot across the room. And so ever since then, I was like pleasantly surprised that guns don't do that.
Okay, not bad. Just squeeze. That one you snatched a little low. So remember, squeeze the trigger. Think of taking that picture, okay? Okay. Better. One thing that'll help maybe, you're putting the finger all the way in here. Put the finger that right on your trigger, right there. There you go. And that maybe will help you pull it straight to the rear.
Not in the inside of the knuckle.
No,
just
right
above.
there.
Okay.
Okay, try that and see if that helps. Just squeeze it straight to the rear. All right, cool. All right, the magazine now. If you're left-handed, you want to drop the mag in this hand. So the magazine released from this gun's right here by the trigger guard. You pop it and it'll come right out.
Oh, cool.
Okay, cool. You put that in your pocket. All right, the plan now is the guys who shot the HK-45 Compact are now going to be shooting the 1911 and vice versa. We're going to see which ones they prefer. Greg, if you're ready, why don't you do a little bit of dry fire?
Sure.
Get used to the trigger, brother.
When we first started this journey and we set out on the types of weapons we wanted in the game, we came up with a really good list, and we knew we wanted to combat 1911. So we started looking at the list and the manufacturers and started talking to the guys, because again, we work a lot with the operators to tell us what types of weapons we should have in the game. And when it came down to the 1911, everybody, hands down, both on the Army side, the Navy side, and a few other groups that we've been working with, said, you got to talk to Larry. You got to get a Vickers 45 in your game, because no one makes a combat fighting 45 like Larry. And so when we contacted him, we finally convinced him to build us that gun specifically for the game. It was exciting, and then to be able to get out on the range on Friday and actually shoot it, it performed and functioned as advertised.
Well, I think I know which one you prefer.
Yeah, that's exactly right, the Vickers.
I think I do. Remember, squeeze the trigger. There you go. Just like that last one, squeeze. Nice. Yeah, think of those two you did, right in the middle. Nice, just like that. Well done, squeeze. Yes. Nice, squeeze the trigger. Well done, bro. That's what I'm talking about.
Excellent.
Well done. You pop the mag out, there you go.
Okay.
Good job, man.
Excellent.
That's what I'm talking about. And that's when you squeeze a trigger like you're taking that picture of that camera, that's the result.
Yep.
Good job.
Nice and gentle, thank you.
Yep. Squeeze the trigger.
I've shot M1911s before. It's funny that it's the older gun, but it's the more ergonomic one. I had pretty big hands too, but it feels, I don't know, a double stack 45 feels bulky to me, where the 1911 just feels right.
Okay, bro, if you're ready, load it up. Nice. You're getting it. Nice, bro. Well done. Much, much better. Now you're getting the concept. And then what's better yet is when you throw a bad one, you know why you did it and you can get back to that's, you're on the right track. Hey, thanks for watching the Vickers Tactical YouTube channel. To subscribe, click here. And to watch some of my favorite videos, click here. Have a good one. LAV out.